to me fear about your addition so. Na senior and the piano at the pass and your jatun say a dear. I can't dear we are more when some better margin and so you be a few monchain. And I must see debris. Good evening, listeners, and thanks once again for receiving us in your homes with your hearts laugh as we continue in our studies of keys to the kingdom. As usual, it's a great pleasure. We all understand we are studying together. When we have shared our thoughts, you also have the opportunity to share your thoughts, and we also learn something from you. Thank you very much. Listeners, today we're going to try to look at a bit extensively at a question that was posed last week, just when we are about to round up. And if I catch the context right, the caller was asking about the level of punishment that is meted out to somebody who has committed some offense in the church. And a person's point is, why should you demote the person instead of just giving him some caution or some warning or something of that sort? If I get the context right, that is about it. The cry is over the level of punishment that is meted out to somebody that has committed an offense, which in the sight of the caller doesn't merit being demoted from a high office. For the parent HMO, Sembisabi by Bra, ya be Yajimedian, Namipese, and there Yashmuka cra. Na Semitiasie a year, a kind of year, na nipano, a bisa se Anyabia se Obi a year a war, the biaka see a war, sorry, Nase, why Mfunswabia Adentina, as I say, ye sign over from. Ye Jini did biano a finish, a sign over from. Onuna nipano ebisa ye. Na me pese ye share sasam no emu kakra. Meka brofo kakra. Mama Samba tree. As usual, I will try to be switching between the English and the tree local language. So please, if you are online, just bear with me. We are online at YouTube Summit Ghana. YouTube at Summit Ghana. We are online. Listeners, what I want us to help ourselves understand in the context of this concern expressed by the caller last week as to why somebody in high office should be demoted when he commits a certain offense instead of just cautioning or warning the person. I want us to begin to ask ourselves, in the first place, who owns the church? If we want to talk in the context of church, then who owns the church? When you entered the church, did you bother to find out the ethics or the guiding principles, the moral code of that particular church? Did you bother to find out? Or you just entered there? Sunday you entered, club, dance, sang, listened to sermons and so forth, until one day you find yourself getting a job to become a chief accountant in the church, or you have become an elder, trying to connect some dots. When we were talking about pastors using people's counseling to preach, a woman called in to ask how the elders are selected in the churches, whether there's some screening that goes on before they are selected, because it is like the behavior of some of them has become quite worrying. I bring this into this focus to connect these dots in the sense that when people are going to be put in office, of course, if you are going to be an elder placed in the church, you would have gone through, or the expectation is you would have gone through some grooming. At least you are a member who is seen as a member in good standing, who knows the principles of the organization before you are placed into high office in that organization. Remember that in the church, we are nurturing souls, not just bodies. We are nurturing souls. What I find interesting is that one day I complained about people's attitude when they are looking for a job, and then the attitude after gotten the job. And it is like the person is very sober when applying for a job, but immediately the person gets his permanency in a job, some of the behaviors are like they are the organ in town. And maybe, fortunately and unfortunately, we have organizations that seem to protect the interests of workers. Whether all protections are right or not is a different matter, but I believe they also apply principles. But it looks like some workers think that because there is a protective body, they can do what they like and they'll be protected. I believe the protecting agencies would not just do that. Before they give you protection, they will have run through certain screening to find out whether you deserve it or not. If you are in the church and you want to behave like you are untouchable, I want you to know that since somebody is complaining about demotion in rank, we must know that in the church, you can be completely sacked. What is called excommunication. You will be completely sacked and cut off from the organization based on what you do that affects the ethics or offends the ethics of that church. So do not think that because it is a church or because you see yourself in a position that you cannot be sacked. In fact, for the ease of those who want to read, for them to have access to read, I have just dared to go online and pick a particular news item that is posted on bbc.com, and it is titled Pope Francis critic excommunicated by the Vatican. Pope Francis critic excommunicated by the Vatican. And in this news item right up there, there is a whole layout of how the whole thing started, what the person was doing, the processes through which the person was taken. And this is a high-ranking officer of the Catholic Church. Like I said, I'm using this as an example since somebody wants to go online and read for himself. So I'm just using that as an example story to help us understand. And this person that was excommunicated by this post, which was posted on 5th July 2024 on the BBC News. This person is an Italian archbishop. It's an archbishop. But he has been excommunicated from the church. So don't think that walking around the church, you can do anything you like and think that you will always go scot-free. Of course, it will depend on what you are doing. And if you should be brought through process to reform you and you decide not to be reformed, whether you are right or wrong is a different matter. I mean, it's not a bone of contention here. Whether you are right or wrong is not a bone of contention here. So long as you have superiors in the organization, and the superiors say they don't like what you are doing, whether what you are doing is right or wrong, the superiors say what you are doing does not conform to our ethics, you must understand that you still stand being judged by the superiors according to what they have on their table as the ethics. If you are doing something wrong and you are called to talk about it and you refuse to come, if your case is in court, whether you are right or not, your case is in court and the case is called and you refuse to come, why do you expect that the judge should award you, that case to vindicate you when you have not made an appearance to make any statement? So simply put, I want all of us to understand by this example that I picked from online to help us to understand that within the church there are ethics and there are processes for dealing with infractions of the rules. And if you avail yourself of the opportunity of being processed and you come up successfully in showing remorse and you are taken back, thank God. But do not think that the church will be there and be doing what you like and no one has a right to speak. As I said, we started off talking about ministers' issues, referencing Hebrew chapter 12, verse 1 to 3, and also Hebrew chapter 13, verse 17. And the fact is that the ministers have charge to protect and nurture your soul of the congregation and give account. And you are also to behave yourself in order to make their work easy for them. So you cannot go to the church and be misbehaving and expect to be left to do whatever you like at the risk of destroying other souls that are being nurtured within that space. So it is your duty to know what the church stands for, the organization you are entering. Even if it's a civil workplace, you must know what the organization stands for, what are the ethics. You don't just get there and be interested in your end of service benefits. What are the ethical codes? You've got to know and abide by them. Otherwise, you stand to be dismissed. Etie for makasa bebre kakra na metwe mu adomara ntiase ebeye adwuma. De mi pahwa ni se ane obi afre ye papa bi afre na wabisa se uwa sorry mu na se uwo di bia kese bi na wakoye mfumso bi a adenti na yemfa kwan bi so nkasa nkyerɛw na de ebe hwane se ya san you fam bibia na wo no ya you fam adenti na esese eba no saa na eho na me pa twɛ se usori se wo ko ra asori bi mu a ana se ejuma bi na ejuma ko bi na wo kwa koye ejuma bi wo hompo a o se ohu senia omo se omo ade na mra omo di eye omo ejuma mra omo di ejuma no etre senia wa na motu besi afa ewo ejuma mu eho ade a obetumi aye ni awontumi nye ni asawu ya na se ye mfomso a asotwe a ewo hu ne nyina wo ho me pa cho menko ra obi asorim na enye wo hu se wo dia wo pɛ no ena wo ba bɛyɛ bibisa se asore no eye hwana dia by all means nipa asore no wono no owo mra odi ejuma ewo asore no na se me se nipa asore no wono na se bi minka se dia ye friend one man church obi wo ho a esi onu no osi asore no nti eye ni dia enye saa na mi edisie sesia enemre yentumi nka se Catholic Church nipa bi poti dia yentumi nka se Anglican Church nipa bi poti dia yentumi nka se Church of Pentecost nipa bi poti edia saansu na yentumi nka se Church Universal and Triumphant nipa bi poti edia Sembi Church Universal and Triumphant mi wo mu a Commissioner Mark L Prophet enam no so himam no so esi asore no ena odi ne yiri abam Clay Prophet abam no so wa train no bra no Mark Prophet ko no Clay Prophet edidi juma nanso ansa na Clay Prophet be wo afia asase so no o twene ho fi asore no wanfa asore ne amani manum efi se onim se suro hemum na mo omuso ena omusi asore no enti asore no enye omo ankasa mo dia bra ori Clay Prophet okwa ahunjie no efi asore ejuma mu no o hwe books bebre bi a wa tro juma wedi a waji nsam efi esro himam ede to apaso sa brempo ebinim wo ho a yenyan entie nchiro paper so ye omugu ho wenum ni nyina no oye wenum ni nyina wieye no okọ ahomgie no wanfa bia anko wanfa ne din antu so eye ne dia wanfa mma ne banum se eye mu dia efi se omunim omu wontiase se esro himam ni elmoya obaye ena obekire omade ena ona omuso ena so ma so himem efo the saints omu baaye ena omude ensem baaye na omatwa apaso ena omatro bi mu book ena ninkeka ho wanka se eye ne dia nanso otwe ne ho no o se obi hwe so na nipa ohwe so no odi mra ena eye djuma nti sabre nipa eso ahimam nam no su edisi asore no mpo no wanka se eye onu ankasa odi ni sabetu ne bu se eye onu dia onu nti sabre ameka se manya ka se Methodist Church obi antumi nsore beka se eye media but still ewo obi anase ewo obinum obi na ohwe so na nipa na ohwe so no ohwe so se adia eye omusum gidie no ohwe ma ono akoso ewo sa asore no ono ena adwuma era neti so nipa ohwe Anglican Church, Methodist Church, Catholic Church, Pentecost ena ninkeka ho nia ohwe so sese ano ohwe se gidia omusom edi yedwuma no onu na esese ekoso ewo saa asore no emuo enti se owura ba akum na se ofi se de ekoso wo ho no wu na wo kwa akosisa ena ebi ha bisa ho se ukoye se ukwa akosisa esum no ana se ukwa akodom wom na se ukoye se ukosisa esum no so na se omunso se enye saa ne ye a straight away the old one say mpacho pe obaby ko enti se unji sa sum no dia menko ho simple unji ndi menko se unim ni omuye na se ukọ kan say exploration ukọ akọhwe ukọ so ahwe ukọ ye fifem ane onunta na Sunday service ewo ho ena ukọ obi out be call Sunday service we are sorry ba o unya sorry ba o utumi call Sunday service na wakọ na waso wakọ tie bi na won hu de ekoso onunti na Catholic Church omeka che say uba se unye practicing Catholic unye Catholic ni mapa ayaja tu say wu utumi konya medidi a se mrenu so na ye konya medidi a ewrade edidi a memba umbe announce ama memba enti onu there no problem say wanya kwa ukọhwe de ekoso wo ho wo so ahwe o say that ruby ba na o so to me can say fi na ekoi bi pese me dom wom enti ne ehia say me ye no ne ehia say me sua na me di me hu edom wom mu no mo nkyere me na ya kyew na ya ba usuo na ya the word quantity na ya ma ya the first holy communion na ya that fa entity na ya ma confirmation I just say who deny say ho say sorry ma sorry bra wo ye we ni nyina no na ye kyerɛ wo mra ye di wo ewo sa asɔre no emo enti se wo kwa konya dibia kese bi as a managerial positioner by all means senior sa ekuo no eye na ade no o se usua na wo hu empa se enye bibia na yebeda na edi ache obia because nipa ohwe muso ni nyina no owo mra yedidi no yedi hwe no odije ndijuma ono na ya ma no sa de bia no enti ehu hia na obeka kire se mimra no ni amidi so enie but se obeka sa kire wa anase se obema wo ejuma bi se ya onimbe bia ogina ansa na wo ka kire se sa di we ye mami anase adi we ye no sei na ye no sei na ye no sei se wo sei unti ase a enti wunya na ekodu baby a wo challenge ya na se hia se nipa no be ka kire se baby a me gina so nie na wa boa wo mpo se wo kire se hwe mra me di adwuma ene a kire to hai enhia se ofan kire wo because enye wo na ede sa dwumadie nu ehye wo nsa nti de ehia no se wo obenyu waso na watie de mpenefo no eka kire wo se bibi ba no se eye ade a ehia adwenkire a obetumi ahu se sa ade a bai akonya wo ho se misusu mi kire ma adwen na obekire wa adwen so a odhwe no ekwan so a ebe kire se eye adwenkire na wuye na mom enye se wo ba be hye obi so na se wo ba be ye no se o midie ne mi pese e wo ho na se e wo ho wasa sa sore no mu a ene mpenifo betumi aka se da bi enye sa na tie na omudi mraw omumra ene obedi na meka se obi anya obia e wo sa tibianum in fact nipa oye penimu a order asore na nu ankasa punu ekwan wo ho ayetumi yi no nipa oye nia order anu kwa no onu nsusu ekwan wo ho a yedi yi no fi asore no sekobanu sa ansusu godu sam pepeso anu a pepeso no a ekwan wo ho a yedi yi no ena me ye mfati hu se obi be pese obekwa kokan easy entino mafa asem trouble news aiwo bbc.com or news item our matro 5th July 2024 HSA Kalichet Penimu Archbishop Pope Apamuno Archbishop and Pope Apamuno enawo oninam eko jumidie titi obia eni otiso Archbishop ensusu ya pamuno na se opese okokan ya bbc.com the title no ye Pope Francis critic excommunicated by the Vatican. Excommunication actually say ya twa osuo excommunication actually say ya twa osuo enti se opese okan ya mpacho otumi call aba fontin tan so na wankasa wakokan na ohwe ho a obenhu se nipa no yede ne fa mra kwan bi mu nhihye binim so akopim se ade a wo ye jai ye mpe no se jai enye se asem na papa no ka no eye o anase enye o enye ono na asem no wodi ani a wo ka ena se ne a wodi ye no no ekuo no se ye mpe anase ekuo no mpanifo se ye mpe enti se wo se chinchina sa na obekọ a omo afrew brand entrance ne ka sa asem sa de hu asem wo se wo mba wo se wo ntie oh ena meka se de wo di asem court se wo di bim empo na se ya fre asem no wo court na wan ko ha judge on to me nka se wo di bim because wan ko ho enti se kodo sa abre no a ene na che se judge ni onu fi se pesa obeye no obetumi aye wontumi ndina ba bia se uji hu afemu ena meka se ye binim ho se ko pejuma aya na ye hu mobomobo ye nyanya adwuma no wie na se ya ma ye permanent appointment pe na adane ye hu oga because ye feel say anyi bia ekuo bi wo ho a se adwumayefo asamba o media mayen nanso kai se sa ko no nsusu no ombehwe de ekoso no ansa na se ombeta wa chi a no matter wa chi senti sadia ba omis eno ne se obeko ani obi say dey aha de se emrano se wamba ejuma 3 days 4 days etuaso na wonni anuye papa bia ene straight away why you hu edi ena obi we say tisadia oh 2 days say 3 days 2 days me nkwa ejuma the third day now akwa ejuma now I got travel for 2 days now I san call Obeka say I mean I just and yes 37 near this real what if you 2 days 3rd day now akwa ejuma 4th day now akwa ejuma 5th day now akwa tenafie because Emrano say 3 days continuous until say all the 2 days nanso kai say dabi beba obi betina se ahwe say ahun say osimesi ni suban nie enti mraya ya tro say no Emrano ebeti saa nanso say obi asheda ne team process saa ena obe tunana mo no ye ntumi gya no ma won kono saa keke wo de opa kofa trade union wo be kofie enti me kan ma ya nyina ate asese se wo kowra ekuo bim nyanti asese emra bi e wo saa ko num wa kowra gidie mium first day ukwa wo ba be hwe se eyema wo na se enyema wo bia assemble na to na ope obi a bo ma wa so ano na obi si kwa sorry we na wa kwa kopie ho ense hwe wa kopie ho se wanya se yarisa na ohia na se wanya enye na kire se by force ube wa sorry ho still ubetumi afem ahwe se asori we mintina ha gidie no ebetumi ni mi akọ ana se den ohwe sa na nyina se ko du pempen som na wa se bi pese mi de mi ho dom sankofia na wa fa kwan a ebe fa so a ubekru se ani uye asori we mu nipa mapa na ya jiwu atom ena meka say when we na antina who say uko Catholic Church said do mra ye ko awrade didi ye announcement wa unye Catholic ni mapa no member omo ye announcement member enti u nim say undu sa di biana tibiana menko simple sana gidie no etre na men kase sana gidie no etre keke nemom meka ne se awrade didi a wo kọ no ne ho enhra ewo ho ena ne ho sunsanso bone nsusu wo ho se wa boaboa wo ho ansa na wo kọ ono ntina ebe hia se uye obi a omofra no practicing Catholic obi a uye Catholic ni mapa udi omu ni ye ene ye jumatem bia ansa na waba isa ye no as an example na ye de anya entiase enti se du ba bia ye be ma okwan wa sorry bia se obekọ awrade didie na ye wo ahosiesie na ahomboabo bi a obeye ansa na wako enti me kan say wako wura ekuonum gidie nu ne kuonum first saati bia na wakodu unya ndu bebia ubeye asornum peni bi na se kodu bebia ubeye asornum peni for bia ubenya peni edi bia bi edi ejuma ye be kirew mra ewo hu nhihia ewo hu ye be kyerɛw ansa na ya ye induction ye de sa dwumadie no ahye wo nsa uji tuum sɛ obɛyɛ enti na ye de ahye wo nsa untumi nji di bia no wie na ne awu pɛ no ɛna wo kwa akɔyɛ ɛna wo fi sɛ obi ani ho a ɔbɛka bibia efe ho. Anya force. Want to mean for so bia say on the post. Say nipa no say on you ready ready. Anya force. Yet me ma post. Still obeka say post immediately from menye biom. Enti anya force. Na say na o si kano no. Ane mi wo obi a offer sati bia no mu say na sorry ehwe say na odi ya ade a say manu kwanpo na say yo onko kanya misem say na odi kanya misem no na anka sorry no pese say wontumi nye sofo mpo a anka onye elder no so si da bi enti say na o kire no asare no omu enye se waye boni but still say on ja ne ho enye sa adwuma no nti no akoy say they are not happy onye boni but still omu feel say nanka omu hia no mana ye adwuma bi ama asare no nanso ono so feel say onye ready wahu na misaka no say ni pay wanya akwenya ema obinuma tume hu aka chen say wo anka se wo yesofo ya kan ha ene ya kan ha ene ya kan ha but still nipa no feel say menye ready untumi force no nti ho no sa na tie untumi force no once akuo no feel say omu nipa munya nipa sa na so ye dwuma ma omo a anasa oboa omo a anka beboa eko no nyina ono no ombedi ya kakra wo ho but still won't mean force no sanity here. So listeners, the question is, can you force somebody to take position in the church? And the simple response is you cannot force anybody. The person has a right to accept or not to accept to take up position in the church. You can even put a person in position and he can say, I'm sorry, where I've reached, I want to step down. And you cannot force it. And I cited an example of someone that I know who, given the chance, preaches as a lay, I wouldn't call a lay preacher because he was not prepared as a lay preacher, but he's identified to preach in that role. And the elders in the church saw the gifts he has in doing so and have tried to persuade him to, take up position so that he can be well prepared to be ministering to the people. And he says no. And he has gone to, in communication with some other people, they have been able to tell him that, look, you should have been a pastor. But still, he says no. And because of this, of course, the congregation in which this person is are not too happy. Not that he has done anything bad, but the feeling is that we wish we had you to support the ministry. And he's saying, no, you cannot force the person. Listeners, at this point, I would like to open the phone lines so that you can come in and share your thoughts. Ati for Sabri, a person be phone lines no. Now I bring na much margin.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. White. First, over there. I'm a good sign, sir. I had a good was very well. Walk a post, post. Now, the president is often say, post another walk heavy than I said. Post him, so I'm more post was on my boss, you know, and yes. And I said, more said, one into bois. And I said, I mean, I saw no post instead because of number of Ibanaka.
Yeah, I'm purpose and coheven. 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 The woman is a Kubia a war, one almost share a sword. Na won't mean ja a corner say, Obia and purpose and coheven. The woman is a management team. Ekobia but enwe ona okra asori no enyen wom na osafofo no ontumi nja ekuo no se obia enhwe na obia ye ade a ope nti ye wo ne efe management team so obia enhwe se okra na asori no nti enyen wom ebehia se nti osafofo no omo na omohwe sa asori manu eso na nhwe se hona na yebetumi so sofo bia eni ho a na oho akoye problem kakra nti ebehia se ana se hona na yebetumi akenya waba fa asori manu emu se odibehwe se hona na yebetumi abuano ana se akenya no na waba asofodie anase hwana na ebetumi akenya na waba fa position bia ebeye se odi be hwe ekuo nu eswo because yentumi nja management anase hwana oba hwe omti da for no yentumi nja no sa nti onu nti na ehia se post bi ewo ho as a management or administrative structure for the organization. So we have the administration of the organization. People must occupy those positions to manage the place. That is all the reason why we need those things. But it's not because that is what will make you go to heaven.
Good evening. Very Vicentia, the first amount of. If I don't make it at post one me, I talk of being more, you post the money pa. Now my if you are nice like a canter. And this post no more, a bill, one as a yak, and not a yadi or a boo. Not a wussy womb, said you more. Or no, so funny a bear, some bompire, mawana, say a bompire, mauna, so we get to her. Or no, so some for the Wahana.
Mm-hmm. Yo, me da say, me share baby all cancer yedi oil be ego so. Men to me who say say or patch say me da say ye so for yes rawo eno me share baby all cancer yedi oil be ego so. As an elder, men to me who say or patch say ye usofo yesra wonwo eno onu echi no in my ordination as a priest after the order position be as an elder yesra wonwo ansana wanya sadi bia no onu na mean to me entiasie ye but meaning say but once in my ordination forever a priest as a priest after the order of Melchizedek, it means
a ritual is an order of doing things.
So forever.
Ritual doesn't mean killing things. Okay. So
a
process, and
but once a priest,
that is where you have
forever a priest.
Anointing that is done to you.
A ritual is an order of doing things. So ritual doesn't mean killing things. Okay.
There is no prayer that anybody is going to pray for you
a ritual or a process,
the mantle of
and within that thing, that is where you have the anointing.
You decide you
that is done
exercise the
to
mantle.
you.
The mantle will be there dormant.
If tomorrow you decide that
even
you are no more going to be a priest,
you are still.
There is no prayer that anybody is going to pray for you to revoke the mantle
I don't know
of priesthood
the person is saying before
from
you become
you decide you won't want to exercise the mantle.
Christian, well, maybe
the mantle will be there dormant.
As a head Christian, they may
but
want to
even though
you.
It is there dormant,
no problem,
you are still
but even if you
responsible
are
for it.
It is not something.
I don't know whether the person is saying before you become
as a binding thing.
What?
That whether
a head
you like
Christian,
it or
well,
not,
maybe somewhere
you must
as a head Christian, they may want to anoint you. No problem. But even if you are anointed there,
or a bucket of oil on you,
it is not something.
The point.
So far as I'm concerned, it's not something that is done as a binding thing.
She attends or
that
what she has
whether you
witnessed.
like it or not,
if
you must remain the catechist for this church. If that is why they are pouring a bottle or a bucket of oil on you, that is not the point.
Then you want.
I don't know which church
if that be the
she attends or what she has witnessed.
What should I do?
If she has witnessed a situation where the people say,
means you have to ask that question
because we are making you this, you don't have the right
to be passed through that process
to leave the church. That is a different ball game.
That is what I can
then
say.
You want now therefore to say, if that be the case, if I want to leave the church, what should I do?
And I don't think
it also means you have to ask that question even before you accept to be passed through that process.
Some ritual on you.
That is what I can say.
What you are doing, then
You have to ask of what you are going to do before you get involved. And I don't think any good church or any good religious organization will just administer some ritual on you without making you understand what you are doing. Then, I mean, I can just say you are at the wrong place. So, oh, baby, na say besra na won't ye ma na say na say won't me bisan so a. And em say hono akakakra.
Hello. I just back up which ya so for into or your good good teacher. Meaning the way I made describe you. You know we was a church be bring. Now me give say by this time all the churches from the Catholic ebe see asori ebe obi be bi enen omuti radio we hu na omu suade so that both the members and the leaders mistakes bi mo ye no omu ye isia mama efficiency aso sa question na obisa ye na mi entram
and I post interest host me ye dia upe obi wo ho a asori no ewo no enye say odi ni nsase ni bu say ni dia right obi wo ho and I see bebre enti na ye wo post interest force and I post interest host me ye dia upe obi wo ho a asori no ewo no enye say odi ni nsase ni bu say ni dia ba obi wo ho a ohwe asori no no so onu nti na ye wo isihye ye de dibia ama ebinum say wo yewe ani the binum wo ho a omo ahyehyɛ sɛ ye wo na sɛ wo di sɛ dwuma ya afi mienu afi miensa afi nan o sɛ wo twe ho na obi nsusu eba no problem why ye wo die na wa jemu na sɛ wan nya post ankɔtena hɔ a ɛno nkyerɛ sɛ ontumi nkɔ ɛsoro ahemam na ebia sɛ unya post no bi di ye na hu de ekoso mpo anka obeka sɛ we de menya ya anka manko ji o anka oti ho ba bi kom na wa lem emanu no akofa post unda unda enti post ya nya ade a anka o sɛ etie for let me say aha ena adenta SDA junction
and then the Mama said the besi. Yedemwasi bebre. That's a net Yamia Doma. The Beshia Bium, Nayatia, ye addition as well. Church Universal and Triumphant. Yasue Ewo Adenta SDA Junction. The Bemamendokno School. Minabanu ye 028125078. 020 81250